Hi, I'm Brett Zavadil, and the genetic disorder that I chose to research and cover was critical congenital heart disease. So without further ado, let's get into it. Just a quick introduction to critical congenital heart disease, or CCHD. It's defined as two or more heart defects present at birth. These defects can be a wide range of issues affecting the heart, such as heart valve deformities or holes in the septum or the heart wall. As we know, the heart is a well-oiled machine, and it's in constant motion. And if you see like a scope from within a heart, it's almost violent how hard it's pumping and working all the time. So it's got special muscle tissue, and its structure is incredibly complex. So any small defect can cause massive issues. Um, about 1 in 110 babies are born with a heart defect. So it's about 7,200 babies in the United States every year, making it the most common birth defect and the most common cause of infant death in the United States. So of those 110 1 in 110 babies, 25 will be considered critical. So they'll have two or more defects that will require intervention pretty much immediately. And that's why the patient population is referred to as infants, because they're diagnosed typically pretty early, and intervention is usually um, done as an infant. Diagnosis usually occurs within the first few days of life, and depending on the severity of the deformities. Um, Abnormal heart rhythms are usually observed on EKGs. Patients or babies will appear cyanotic, which is just the medical term for their skin being a bluish tinge. Here we can see a baby who's a little cyanotic. It occurs around their face, their fingertips, around their mouth, their toes. And this is due to insufficient blood oxygen levels. So blood is just not getting to the tissue as it should be because of the deformity, isn't allowing the heart to pump the required amount of blood. Oxygen saturation levels can be monitored with this pulse ox here. It's a light that captures and records the oxygen saturation in the tissue. You can also do a capillary blood gas to monitor O2 levels and CO2 levels in these patients. Treatments can include a cardiac catheter, which basically just helps widen the vessels affected, and a transcatheter device occlusion can fix holes in the heart. And then open heart surgery or heart transplants, that's kind of like the last resort, but it's required in about 500 to 600 babies each year worldwide. So here's a quick overview of some of the most common defects seen. Um, Here's a very basic picture of a fully formed human heart. The black letters are just kind of labeling the most important heart structures, and then the white letters are the abbreviations for some of the most common defects seen. Some are single defects, and then some, like TOF or tetralogy of Fallot, are a group of defects. And basically, they're all going to affect blood flow in some way or another. COA, or coarctation of the aorta, is basically just a more narrow aorta than normal. Atrial septal defect is a hole in the septum or the wall between the two chambers of the heart. Atrioventricular septal defect is an improperly developed atria and ventricular wall and adjoining valves. Epstein's anomaly is a malformed tricuspid valve. So right here is a tricuspid valve. It will either be stiff or it will cause regurgitation. TOF, or tetralogy of Fallot, causes pulmonary valve stenosis, ventricular septal defect, overriding aorta, right ventricle hypertrophy. These are basically all just going to affect blood flow in various ways, just like patent ductus arteriosus. Right here, the ductus arteriosus will fail to close after birth, and this allows oxygenated blood from the heart, from the left heart, to flow back into the lungs by the aorta. So here I wanted to show the separate image of a heart affected with HLA, or hypoplastic left heart syndrome, just to kind of demonstrate how dramatic some of these defects can be in contrast with a normal human heart. Here we can see a highly underdeveloped left ventricle, which is basically going to make pumping oxygenated blood back into the body pretty impossible. In these cases, surgical intervention is pretty much required. Transplant is required within the first couple weeks of life. Fontaine's procedure is an option, which is a procedure in which the inferior vena cava is disconnected from the heart and basically routed directly to the pulmonary artery with a tube. The average uh, age of these patients is only a few days without a transplant, with the oldest patients, even with the transplant or Fontaine's procedure, only living till their 30s. Here are some of the various genes associated with congenital heart defects. As we can see, a lot of these genes and their associated phenotypes are repeated. So you can see TOF and HLA and VSD and basically a long list of different phenotypes affected by either the same gene or different genes. Because the array of genes is so wide, a lot of critical congenital heart defects are also associated with phenotypes like Downs, Jacobson, and Turner syndrome. And because the genes and the defects are so diverse, I chose to focus on bicuspid aortic valve, or BAV. It's the most common congenital heart defect, present in 2% of the population, and 9% affected have a family history of BAV. So basically, a mutated gene will cause this normal bicuspid valve or aortic valve. Here's a normal aortic valve, and a mutated gene will cause it to be a bicuspid aortic valve. So this will cause regurgitation, aortic stenosis or narrowing of the aorta, or aortic aneurysms. Basically, it's just the vessel, the wall of the aorta will balloon outwards. It's very incredibly common, so I was able to get a lot of good information about how it's passed down. So just in general, genetic mutations cause changes in the genotype of an individual, causing the protein it codes for to be altered, and that can a lot of times make the protein non-functional. The associated phenotype can cause genetic disorders such as BAV. The gene responsible for bicuspid aortic valve is the Notch1 gene. It affects the Notch1 receptor. So Notch1 is responsible for cell fate determination, which basically just means it plays a massive role in organ formation and telling what cells to become what. Basically, it will. The Notch1 protein is part of the one of four Notch receptors. The Notch protein will be attached to a ligand, which basically they just link up and tell cells to form in specific sites, and together they will call for the formation of various tissues. And so a nonsense mutation at this chromosomal location basically will call for a premature stop codon during mRNA transcription, and it will result in the protein not being fully formed and functionally useless. So at this chromosomal location where Notch1 is located, it can cause malformation of the cardiovascular system, epicardium of the heart, the sac surrounding the heart, and in cases of BAV, the heart valve malformation and calcification. So the normal tricuspid valve is now a bicuspid valve due to this mutation, which causes regurgitation and back into the aorta, will cause blood to basically pool where it's not supposed to be going. And coupled with this, or any of the myriad of different congenital heart defects, it can be lethal. While some of the critical congenital heart defects like TOF are autosomal recessive, meaning 2 copies of the mutated gene must be present for parents to affect the offspring and pass it down, BAV is autosomal dominant mode of inheritance, which means a mutation is located on the autosome, one of the 22 non-sex pairs of chromosomes, and only 1 copy of the gene is needed to cause an offspring to be affected by the disease. So these Punnett squares represent an autosomal dominant mode of inheritance. It's basically showing the genotype of individuals who, capital B means they have BAV or the gene for BAV. This is their genotype. And then this is the basically the probability of their offspring carrying the gene and being affected by it. So these two have BAV, so 75% chance that their offspring will also have BAV, while this individual does not have BAV and neither do they, so there's a 0% chance of their offspring inheriting BAV from them. So here's a pedigree demonstrating the autosomal dominant mode of inheritance. The squares represent male individuals, the circles represent female individuals, and then the red demonstrates someone who has BAV and is affected by the disorder. So these two individuals had 3 different mating events, and you can see that the gene was passed down to 2 of their offspring, while one of their offspring did not inherit the gene, is not infected by BAV. Their mate was not a carrier of the gene and was not affected by it, so their offspring did not inherit BAV either. While these 2 individuals inherited the gene and were able to pass it down to their offspring in the 3rd generation here. So critical congenital heart defects, they're not strictly related to genetic inheritance. Copy number variants can occur, which is just random repeats of genes that can cause heart defects. But genetic counseling for prospective parents can be very important too. Prenatal measures can be taken to avoid complications, and companies like Probably Genetics and Thermo Fisher Scientifics can offer direct-to-consumer genetic counseling, while you can also get this done with your healthcare provider. 47 states require that screening be offered by hospitals because congenital heart defects are so common. And that can be done through karyotyping. Karyotyping looks like this kind of. It's basically just taking a very detailed picture of your chromosomes, and it's analyzed, and they basically look for copy number variants and missing genes. And then you can also get a chrome microarray analysis done in these 2 tubes. It's just a simple blood test. They collect blood and they will analyze your chromosomes to detect things like copy number variants and missing genes. These are just a few preventative measures that parents can take to perhaps mitigate the number of critical congenital heart defect cases. And that's it. So here is my reference slide. These are the references I used basically all these past 8 weeks to get all the information about BAV and critical congenital heart defects. It was really cool studying this.